Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I don't usually have a problem being heard, but I want to make sure. No laughing. All right. Good evening and welcome. Make sure that you have a libation of your choice and have been able to share in the beautiful table prepared by an amazing team of people of Dina Tiji. Surprise, surprise, after she's done this for so many years for us. Thank you, Dina. And Kate Menzies, who also has been with us a long time and always does that extra mile. And of course, Bill at the bar. Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us. For those of you whom I've not met, I'm Michaela O'Connor. The Abrams isn't as important in this parish because I am so proud to be the daughter of David O'Connor, who spent 15 years as a part of this community. And when my father and mother moved to Mill Valley in 2003, and he chose St. Hilary, we had been members of a different parish, and he said, "This is where we're going now." We, of course, followed, and that was absolutely the best decision. And this parish, its community, and his men's group was absolutely the foundation of the most important things, perhaps other than his granddaughter, Taylor, and his only child, Michaela. This parish and this community were his life. And so thank you so much. So I felt it only fitting to be more involved after his passing because I kept feeling him saying, "And what are you doing with your time? And what does Father Brown need? Now what does Father Roger need? And what does the community need?" So I'm so pleased to be able to serve you in any and all ways that I'm needed. This evening, we have our Backstage event. And this is also that you may be a part of the whole backstage, what happened behind the scenes as we were all shut in, hunkered down, masked, distanced, separated in ways we had never been. And for a faith community to have that kind of separation, it makes it incredibly hard for a leader to be able to reach everyone in a meaningful way that isn't just about what happens on Sunday, not that that isn't pivotal to, of course, our faith, but that everything else it takes to make this run well and be meaningful to everybody is a lot of moving parts, no secret, I think, to any of you. So this is Father Roger's chance to show you what he has been doing for that year, what he has been busy forming so that we may be poised to grow. And then also, extremely important to this evening, is this flip chartism, where I will be scribe and making sure to log your ideas, your important questions that we may not have answers to this evening, and to make sure that then we get back to you with those answers and a follow-up to your thoughts and your ideas and your concerns. So enjoy, and now please, if you will join me in our opening prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Holy Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So, Father Roger, the floor is yours.
Great. Good evening, everybody. It is so great to be with you, and it really touches my heart to see all of you here tonight. It touches my heart to see you guys talking with each other. This is the first time that we've had a social event, right? Since COVID began. In over, like, a year and a half now, we haven't been together in this hall. And first time since I've been pastor that we've been together in person for a social event. So it feels really good, right? Does it feel great? Yes. Absolutely. So thanks for being here tonight, and a special welcome To our friends at home, that's the little camera that's for about the 25 or 30 people who are tuning in by Zoom. We are so glad that you're here as well. So as Michaela was telling you, tonight really is about three things. My internet connection is unstable. First thing is we want to look back at where we've been over the last year, kind of the things that we've done, major milestones, and why we did them. The second part is a sneak peek into where we're headed. Where do we see our future going? And this is really where you can help me out. I'd love to get your ideas and your brainstorms about the best way to move forward as a parish. And then the third is, this is where you can provide input, is we'll have a time for questions and answers. And then Michaela will moderate that, and we'll just have a free flowing discussion about your questions, and maybe if you have some concerns, hopefully I can try to allay those concerns in some way and just really hear what you have to say. Also for the people at home, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions on the chat. I think what we're going to do is just allow the people here to ask some questions, and then I'll start monitoring the chat, and if you have questions, just put them in the chat, and we'll go from there. So the timeline is, we started right on time. Thank you, Michaela. I'm hoping to be done with my presentation around 8 o'clock, and then we'll have about a half hour or so for questions. So the first part of this is a look in the rearview mirror, where we've been over the last year or so. So we thought we'd start with our status on June 30th, 2020, the day before I became the pastor. And due to no one's fault, except COVID, the church was closed. It was closed, right? We had no in-person masses. We were live streaming with an iPhone. Mike Radiani and Father Brown got their heads together and quickly figured out a quick and easy way to get live streaming going using the iPhone, and that was working very well. But there's something else that I noticed, and this is really what has been concerning me since I came here. And I just have to be completely 100% honest with you. I feel like you deserve to know that. Before COVID, you had been seeing a very significant decline. Here are some charts that I put together. On the left is probably the most startling chart for me. And this is sort of really what just woke me up to what we need to do. This is every year in October, the Archdiocese asks every parish to take account of their people, who's attending, the number of people who come to Mass over a 4-week period. And then that is averaged together into what's called an October count. And so you can see this chart on the left is a plot of every October count going back to October 1996 through 2019. And you can see it starts here on the very left in 1996, and you saw an increase, which was great. And then it peaked out at about 750 people attending Mass on a Sunday. Yeah, that was the high point, about 2002. And then you can see a very steady, continuous decline to 2019, where we're seeing 400 people attending Mass. What really concerned me is when I did a little trend line analysis. You see that trend line? I asked the computer how soon it will be if we continue this trend. When will we be at 0 people attending Mass? And the scary thing is, if the trend were to continue, there would be 0 people attending Mass in 55 years. That's sobering. And of course, many of us will no longer be here, but we want the mission to continue, right? And so that is very concerning. On the right, we have our collections. Now, they've seen a decline since 1996 as well. Not as steep, though. So what that tells me is that the people who are coming, you, are very, very generous. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for your generosity. But we still need to do something about the numbers. last year, every year the Archdiocese puts out a compilation of the October counts for all of the parishes. And I'm sorry to start on a negative note, but we're going to go up from here. But St. Hilary was one of the 10 parishes at the bottom who had lost the most number of people attending Mass of all the 100 parishes in the Archdiocese. So sorry to start on a negative note, but we are going up from here. So I bring with me a very particular, specific philosophy of growth. And you can boil it down to two things, two approaches, two basic strategies. One is we need to reach the lost. Now, that's sort of an evangelical term, the lost. What do I mean by the lost? It's just an easy way of saying people who aren't going to church. We need to reach people who are not going to church, who are unaffiliated with church. And unfortunately, we live in a county, in a region, and in a state that has one of the least attended states in terms of going to church. So we need to reach those people who are unaffiliated. There are three ways to grow, if you think about it. The first way to grow is demographically, right? People are moving in the neighborhood, families are coming in, they're building houses, things are just booming. Not happening, is it? People are moving out of California. So we're not going to grow we're not going to reverse that downward trend demographically by getting new people in the neighborhood. The second way to grow is to siphon off Catholics from other parishes. Not a great way to grow. I think we can all agree that's not the best way to grow. The third way to grow is reach the market that isn't coming to church. That's the key. And in order to do that, the second strategy is awakening the faithful. What that means is awakening you to participate in this mission of reaching out to people who are unaffiliated, who aren't going to church. We want to be the church that people who don't like church like. And so we need you. This is a group effort. We need you to help us in this mission of reaching out to people who are unaffiliated with the church. If you think about it, I read this once in a book, and it made more sense than anything I'd read in a long time. The authors said that churches, typical Catholic churches, are declining because we tend to focus on people who are already in the pews, which is natural. We love you, right? You're the people who support us. You're here every Sunday, and we love you. And so we want to cater to you, and we want to do what you want us to do. And so the staff and the pastor often pour so much energy into that we forget that we need to reach a whole other market out there who thinks completely differently than church people, differently than church people. So that's the basic philosophy, is we need to shift and all be on board together in finding ways to bring people into church. If you think about it, it's the only way that we can grow. So what we've done to that end are 4 or 5 really important things this year. Most important to that is what we call the Sunday Mass experience. Most people, while some people may join a church and try out a ministry without going to Mass, or some people may join a small group without going to Mass, most people who aren't going to church are going to dip their toe into the water, the church water, so to speak, by trying out a Mass, right? That's what they're going to do. They say to themselves, I should go back to church. I should do that. I should give it another try. And they walk in, and does anyone know how quickly a new person walks into a church and decides whether they will come back ever again? You know how long that takes? Probably. I read 7 minutes, which is charitable, right? It's probably the same thing as a bank, right, Susan? You walk in and you're like, nobody's helping me. I'm never coming back here, right? But that's the same thing, right? They make the decision very quickly. And so we want everything to be right for them. People who come to church every Sunday, you all are very forgiving. If my homily is long and rambling, which never happens, right? You forgive me, I think. If the music is a little off that Sunday or the cantor, cracks their voice, you're like, okay, fine, no problem. If we don't have greeters one Sunday because people are out of town, you're like, that's okay, I don't need to be greeted, I'm a member. The people who are new, the people we want to come and stay, it's got to be right. And so all these things are important for them. And so we invested a lot of our time and energy in making what was already a great Mass even better, I think, especially through the live stream capabilities. So here, just very quickly, here's some of the things we did. Obviously, we started with an outdoor Mass, but then very quickly, when we were allowed to go indoors, we had a hybrid. I think we were the only parish around. I haven't heard of other parishes who had both an indoor and outdoor simultaneous option. So you could come indoors or you could stay outdoors. We invested we upgraded the live streaming capabilities so that we have 3 cameras now that can switch back and forth. We use a system of projection called ProPresenter, which is what all the big churches use. We have tech operators up there every weekend. We did an upgrade to our audiovisual and lighting. And I will have to say, and I'm very proud to say this, that it is widely recognized that even at the Archdiocese, that St. Hilary has one of the best, if not the best, live streaming presentation in the Bay Area. Would you say that's fair? We have had several churches come to us saying, what do you do? And come and look at our balcony and see what's up there. We also made some changes to the music, and I want to spend just a few minutes talking about why. So many of you know we brought in a contemporary band. This was a band that was with me at St. Brendan, and when I came up here, they came with me. Now, we have, as all of you know, I think, I was here 5 years ago, as the assistant priest. So I know you have always had an excellent music program. The cantors, the Pamela are excellent. The choir is amazing. The reason for having some of the masses with a contemporary band is this. According to the best minds in the church business today, what the type of music that is most relevant and resonates the most with unchurched people, people who are unaffiliated with the church, is not churchy sounding music, but band kind of music, like what we're playing at the 9 a.m. and the 5 p.m. Why? Because think about it. If you were to not hear the lyrics of those songs, it would sound like something you hear on the radio, a top 40 pop, right, that you're listening to on your way down to work. It sounds, pardon? Oh, okay, I've never been to Live Memorial. Oh. So right, so it's something that people are familiar with. And then there's Christian lyrics to them. So there's just been studies that have shown that unchurched people really like that kind of music. And then as they become more used to church, then their musical taste will broaden and they'll start to appreciate all styles of music. So that's the kind of the thinking behind bringing in the band. So message series, I know many of you have questions about why do we do this message series, and many of you love it. I've heard lots of feedback. I know that there are some that don't care for it. So let me try to explain the advantages of a message series. Number one, how many of you have ever had the experience where you hear a great homily and you walk out and 5 minutes later, you can't remember what the priest said? You know it was good, but you can't remember, much less a couple of days later. One of the advantages to a message series is that because we sustain a topic, we delve into a topic over a 4 to 6 week period, you remember it. You may not like the topic. Some people don't like battles of the Bible because it's very Old Testament-like, or you may not like something else because it's like, but you'll remember it. The other advantage of the message series is that by sustaining a topic over a 4 to 6 week period, we're able to delve into it and really explore theologically. Like, for instance, the Rise message series at Easter, we talked about some pretty deep theology. We talked about the theology of justification, the theology of sanctification, the theology of merit, all of these things out in the catechism. But we were able to do that because we were building on the homilies from week to week to week. The other reason for doing message series is that it's considered a best practice. Almost all of the fastest growing churches in America are doing message series because it works. Because it works. And many Catholic churches are getting on board now with this. We've got some churches right here in Marin County who are very interested in this kind of thing, and they're looking into it. And I'm just pleased to really announce, you're going to be so excited about the next message series coming up, because this one was was recommended by the Archbishop himself. Archbishop Cordileone has asked every single parish in the Archdiocese to do a message, well, he calls it a homily series. Oh, by the way, you know why we call it message series instead of homily series? Because unchurched people have no idea what a homily is. So we want to be accessible to them. But he calls it a homily series, and he's asked us to do it, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be great. And I can't wait to unveil it to you. So it's starting to catch on. I realize it's not for everyone, and I'm sorry about that. But it does seem to work with people who are unchurched. We also started a chat host ministry. We have chat hosts at most of the masses now, which means that people who are online, who have been online during COVID, don't feel isolated from the community. We have somebody who interacts with them online. And then I'm just really proud to announce that, I mean, we have people watching all over the world and all over the United States. We're a small church, so it's not huge numbers, but I mean, we have people in Belize, we have people in Indiana, we have people from the East Coast who are watching us. They found us and they like us. So that's the Sunday Mass experience. The next big thing, the big milestone that we sort of achieved was Best Christmas Ever. I think everybody got on board with that. It felt like the best Christmas ever in the middle of COVID. So I want to thank everyone who got on board, the school parents, and yeah, all right, give ourselves a round of applause. And just for nostalgia's sake, remember this? Let's. And I love this, and I'll tell you why. Because it is emblematic of what I believe is the future of our church. We bring the traditional and blend it with the new, the old with the new. The traditional choir that has always enriched this church was working together with the new contemporary band and produced this beautiful music for Christmas. I thought that was fabulous. Another thing that we have achieved over this last year, and I know that some of you have questions about, is parish leadership structure. And I want to try to explain that a little bit. A man named Pat Lencioni wrote a book called The Better Pastor. Pat Lencioni is a very devout Catholic. He's connected to Archbishop Cordileone. He lives here in Oakland. He's also a Fortune 500 business guru who writes all sorts of books for the business community. But he wrote this book for Catholic pastors called The Better Pastor. And its basic premise is that pastors often burn out or fail or don't do as well as they could because they try to do everything themselves. They try to lead the parish by themselves, which is really contrary to the best thinking out there in the business world, that CEOs and people in charge of organizations should lead with a leadership team. And so that's what this book is about. And so that's sort of a best practice now. And so here is what the leadership structure at St. Hilary consists of. The pastor. So the pastor will always have the final word. There's no question on that. It's a benevolent dictatorship. The leadership team, which I'll explain in just a moment, the Pastoral Council of parishioners, and the Finance Council, composed of parishioners, and the staff. So, first of all, there's me, very cute, although I've been told that picture is aging. So basically, the pastor is the chair of the leadership team. He's an ex officio member of the Parish and Finance Councils. He leads all aspects of the parish. He administers parish operations and is accountable to the Archbishop. That probably is pretty clear. The leadership team. Now, here's the leadership team. The leadership team is a small group of people who are collectively responsible for achieving the top priorities of the parish. Most of the time, the leadership team is made up of employees, of staff members, because it is very rigorous. It requires a 2-hour meeting every week. Every Monday, we get together for a 2-hour meeting. We have off-site retreats where we go over things for several days at a time, several times a year. It's demanding and it's a burden. And so, but in order to actually make work happen, we have to be small. And so usually the best leadership teams are just 3 or 4 people plus the pastor. And so who we have on our team are, and by the way, it's taken a while for me to announce this because it's taken me a year to be sure who I want on the team and kind of how we're all going to gel together, and it seems to be working very well. So we have Marie Bordelot, who is here tonight. Marie, the school principal, our wonderful principal. Marie is on the team, both because she's brilliant, but also because it's so important to have school cooperation. One of our long-term goals is to bring school and church much more closely together than they have been. Every Catholic parish struggles with this, the church and school kind of operating in two separate silos. We want to bring that together, and so it's a no-brainer. We have Carol Garrywall, who is on our Zoom. Hi, Carol. Carol was on the, oh, yes, okay, we'll applaud for Carol. Carol is the Associate Superintendent of Catholic Schools in downtown for the Archdiocese. She was also on my leadership team at St. Brendan's, and she's the former principal of St. Brendan's. And so I've worked with her many years, and she knows the vision, she knows what we're trying to achieve. And when I left St. Brendan, she wanted to come here because she's very excited. And she's very excited to meet all of you. She's in Ireland right now, so she can't be here tonight, but she really wants to get to know this community. And I invited her on because she's also brilliant, but also because it will foster a closer relationship with the Archdiocese, which is a good thing. Lisa Rosalind, who's here tonight. Lisa in the back. Lisa is a staff member, so she works part-time for us. She is Director of Stewardship and Development, but the truth is she's doing way more than that. And I'll tell you more as we go on. I know I need to speed up. But she is, I worked with her for 6 years, and she started here at St. Hilary, and then when I went to St. Brendan, I invited her to come down and become the parish manager at St. Brendan, and she did that for 4 years, and she knows the inside and outside of archdiocesan policies and procedures and administrative functions. She's been on several committees at the Archdiocese. She's highly respected down there, and over the course of 4 years, she's grown so much. And of course, when I came back here, it was only natural because she lives a mile and a half away. Her daughter Olivia grew up here in the school and went to the school. She's been a member of this parish for how long? More than 20 years. So she knows and loves this parish, and so she was super excited to come back. And since Adrian's retirement, it's been proven to be great because she has been able to, some of the things that Adrian was doing, she's been able to pick up because of her experience as a parish manager. Lisa Vito, who, thank you. I got my cheerleader over here. Lisa Vito is here tonight. Lisa, our Faith Formation Director. So Lisa is on the team as well. She is very invested in this community. You've been a parishioner how long, Lisa? 10, 12 years, 15 years? 15, 16 years, knows and loves this community and very connected with the parent community, Faith Formation parents. And let me just be honest with you. when we talk about reaching out and bringing the unaffiliated in, people who aren't going to church, let's be honest. We got a lot of our school parents and a lot of our faith formation parents who do want their children to have the sacraments, but aren't attending regularly. So what a great way to like work closely and get those programs integrated with the rest of the parish and what we're doing. So that's the leadership team. We also have a parish pastoral council. When I came here, we had a full council, but in December, 3 of the people rotated off. And 4 of the people actually rotated off. So it sort of left Michaela and 1 other person. And so I had a number of slots to fill. And so here are the people that we filled them with. Phil Mills is one of the new favorites at the 9 a.m. Mass. He's a young guy. He's new to the parish. He is an expert in digital marketing and online marketing. And so I figured his talents could come in very handy. He's unable to be here tonight. He's in Maine tonight. He's got a 3-year-old son, Jack, who will be going to our school, God willing, next year. Vera Vaiahala is a very accomplished woman. She is was affiliated with the United Nations in a director role there. And she couldn't be with us tonight because she's in Rome, finishing out some business there. She just moved here to Tiburon. So she also represents the newer parishioner here. And then I was so pleased when I heard that Diane Cummings accepted our invitation to join tonight. Diane, everybody knows Diane. And I'm just so excited to work with her. She also was unable to be here because I think they're on vacation somewhere. And then Hector Lopez, who was on the council before, I think a lot of people know him. He represents sort of a parent. He's a parent at the school and has been a parishioner about 12 years. So I think that we've got a nice mix of people. And so the parish council advises the pastor on matters of importance for the parish and ensures that the vision of the leadership team is successful. Finance council reviews the financial statements and advises the pastor on matters of financial importance for the parish. We've got Bob Widman, who's the chair. Bob, were you able to make it tonight? I think he said he couldn't. Chris Thanos is right here. Chris, welcome. Is Joe Klein? I don't think Joe could be here either. July is a hard time for people. Bill TG is here. Bill, we're so excited that you're on the council. All that experience. He brings so much experience. We're excited. And then a new member to the council, along with Bill, is a woman named Hilary Church. Did I get that right? She's your friend. And she's a very accomplished woman, and I've been a member of the parish for a number of years and also a school parent. So I think we've got a great group of people to advise and help me move forward. Okay, so I've got 7 more minutes and we're going to rush through this. So another big accomplishment was small groups. Small groups are absolutely essential to this parish, to any parish. They make a large parish small, and they help people bring what they've learned in church into a small setting of people that they can trust and talk about their faith and grow in their faith. Small groups are another best practice among the fastest growing churches in America. And our small groups have grown from 6 to 13, so we've doubled in about a year, which is not bad. And we even have out-of-area participants from Los Altos, Bakersfield, Fresno, Virginia, and North Carolina who are in our groups, which is just amazing. We also have a great new group finder feature, which allows people who go to our website to see all of our groups and then sign up right there online. Another major initiative is our communications. And so we have another part-time person. Kristen is here tonight. Kristen Broussard. She is our communications director, and she spends about 1/3 of her time helping us with communications. The other 2/3 she works over at Star of the Sea for Father Ginter, and is doing a fabulous job over there. They love her over there. And so some of the big things we're doing with communications is we're going to have a new website coming out in the fall. We're going to have a new mobile app coming out in the fall. We have upgraded our social media, and we'll continue to do so. And we're in the process of implementing a new church management database. So here's just a quick sneak peek at what the new website will look like. That's just the home page. So you'll get more about that in a little bit. This is the new mobile app that will be coming out in September. And On it, you can get right on your telephone, parish news, events from the parish, small groups, prayer wall. You can submit your prayer intentions. You can get Catholic Mass readings. And so I would encourage you, if you're in Mass, it's okay. Pull out your phone, and you can get the Mass readings right there on your phone. Parish photos and other news. And you can watch the Mass online, and you can relive the message series if you like. And of course, you can get it right there online. Very important. So it keeps you connected to the parish. You can consider it like Sunday in your pocket all week long. Social media, what we've done in terms of social media is we have increased our Facebook followers from 682 to 1,090. Not bad. Almost, what is that, about a 30% increase over the last year. Kristen, thank you. She spends a good deal of time working on that. Our focus is on the young church, and the content includes prayer and advice from our message series and invitations to watch the Mass. And we've done a little bit of advertising on Facebook. It's really cheap, actually. We probably spend about $50 each time we do it. And we did it 3 times, and we got 5,349 views from just those advertisements. So that's pretty good. And the last piece under communications is our new church data system. It's called Tidely. And we're migrating off of a platform from it's called PDS, which came out in the 1970s, I think, and has not been upgraded since then. So it's pretty antiquated, in my opinion. And so we're moving over to Tidely. And Tidely has several advantages. It makes giving easier. It has a really good user-friendly platform. And here's something I think you'll like. Once you start giving on Tidely, you can log in and create your own account, and then you can get your tax statements right there. You can check your giving. You can see what you've given. It's your own account that you can log into, which you currently can't do now. It's also an all-in-one data system, so it'll help us track data to stay connected with people and put them in a pipeline. So, for example, if somebody gives for the first time or the third time, it will tell us, and we can send out an email, say, hey, we're so glad you gave to us. Thank you so much. Can we get you connected? Do you want to sign up for a ministry? Do you want to become a member of the parish? Can't do that now. Diana does a wonderful job of that now, but it's all labor intensive. With this system, we'll be able to do it automatically and still have the personal touch, because Diana will reach out to people who need to be reached out to. It provides multiple features, so it's an integrated system. And so instead of paying a bunch of software fees to a lot of different places, it's all in one. It can handle our small groups. Eventually, we'll have volunteer scheduling on there, calendar and events feature, email communication. Another big initiative that we have been doing this year is enlisting your help. We need your help. We are a small parish. We can't do all this alone. We have big dreams, right? And so we need people to step up and be volunteer leaders, to take ownership of a huge portion of the church. Very important. So many of you stepped up, and I'm so excited to announce that under Children's Faith Formation, we have 2 volunteers who are going to help. Carol Garrywall, who's on the leadership team, and Carolyn Bland. Under Administrative Services, we have Helen Rodriguez. Helen's right here. Helen? Is Carolyn here tonight? Carolyn? No, okay. But Helen's here tonight. Thank you, Helen. She is going to help me coordinate all of this leadership stuff. So that would be great. And she's so well qualified. The Altar Server program, John O'Neill has agreed to take over the Altar Server program and reboot it in the fall from soup to nuts. He's so generous. If you know him, he's a wonderful man. Adult Faith Formation, we need to build programs for parishioners to enrich them spiritually. We don't have that right now. And so Thomas Chen, who is a brand new Catholic, and he's so excited. He's the retired president of the International Division of the Abbott Laboratories. Yeah, not bad. But he's a new Catholic. So he's excited to help with that, but we're going to need a partner for him, somebody who's a more experienced Catholic. Our Parish Connections program, which is welcome ministry, greeter, hospitality on Sundays with donuts and everything, is going to be run by Lenore Noguez. Nora, are you there in the back? And Julie's not here tonight. Julie couldn't be here tonight. Okay. And then what we still need are someone to consider taking over starting a vacation Bible school next summer. We need a co-leader for the Adult Faith Formation to work with Thomas. And then we need someone who can develop even more programs to reach out to the poor in the world. And then also we need a spiritual care leader, someone who will help me coordinate home visits. That has really been languishing during COVID. People at home who need communion, and it's been really hard. So I'm still looking for someone to help me with that. So if any of you are moved, let me know. Okay, quickly, I'm way over, I'm sorry. 7 minutes more, we're almost done. Financial summary. So very quickly, some of you have had questions like, where are we financially? And I want to apologize because this should have come out to you soon. And it will from now on a timely basis. So here is we just finished the 2021 fiscal year. It ended on June 30th, 2021. And the income, here's the income breakdown. 56% of our income was from collections. 36% was from donations and grants, special gifts. Now, that's a little higher than normal because people weren't able to come to church. So anything that was sent to the office directly as a check would have been counted as a gift under this 4,500 on the left. Anything that was dropped into the collection basket would be the collections there, this 4,100. And of course, less people were going because of COVID, but you were so generous sending in your checks to this office. Thank you so much. Here's what the income looked like for this year. This is fiscal year, what we just finished. And this was the last year. This was ending June 30th, 2020. So as you can see, even in a COVID year, we did even better because of your generosity. Thank you so much. And even when people weren't able to go to Mass, we were almost the same in collections, a little less than the pre-COVID year. And what really saved us were these special gifts that people sent in. So, so generous. Thank you so much. In terms of expenses, so for this year, 47% of our expenses were personal costs, 12% were for the facility, and then 28% were for liturgy and music and worship. And so I'll show you the breakdown here. So we did end the year with a little bit of a loss. But let me tell you, at the beginning of this year, we were projecting $250,000 loss. And as the year progressed, we started getting reports, well, maybe it won't be $250,000, it'll probably be $120,000 loss. And I was really nervous. I'm like, what am I going to do? We have reserves, we have plenty of money in the bank, but I don't want to draw on it. And it turned out that because of some of the things we did in terms of expenses and your generosity in terms of donations, we only lost 18,000. I mean, in the year before, we only lost 5,200. Can you see that, Mike? Okay. So I feel pretty good about that. Also, when you consider these are called donor-restricted donations. We got donations that were restricted to certain things, and so that really helped our bottom line. So, and I'm going to publish all this and send this out to you in a packet through Flocknote so that you can look at it more carefully. And you can ask questions in a few minutes when we get to questions about it. I can back up to this slide if you have questions. So we're almost done. So that's where we've been and now where we're headed. A couple of things. I want to talk about organizational clarity. I want you to know that we have a mission statement, a vision statement. We know exactly what we want to do and where we want to go. We have priorities that we've set for this year, and we have annual goals. So the first thing is our organizational clarity documents. So the leadership team met along with the parish council, and these are our statements of what we see as the fundamental things we want to achieve. Our mission is to make Jesus matter to everyone. Why did we pick that? Because Marin County, it's a matter of making Jesus relevant, right? There are so many, we have so much money, we're so affluent, there's so many options for people. It's not that they don't care, it's that we easily get distracted. And so we want to make Jesus matter to everyone. That's our mission. Our value, we have 4 core values. Excellence matters. We want to be excellent in what we do. We shouldn't do something unless we can do it with excellence. The second value is growth. We want to be open to change, not for change's sake, but to be able to grow and to adapt to new environments. If you don't adapt, you die, right? Third value is truth matters. We want to do all this, but we will not sacrifice the truth of God's word and the church's teachings. And the last value is everyone matters. We want to be inclusive and relatable. And our vision is we want to be a community growing in faith where everyone loves to belong. We have some strategic anchors. These anchors are things that keep us grounded. We shouldn't be doing anything in this church that does not advance one of these anchors. And we have 5 anchors. We want to offer opportunities for people to connect with other people in meaningful spiritual relationships. Fellowship, that's an anchor. We want to grow in prayer. We want to teach people to grow in their prayer life. Strategic anchor. We want to help people heal from life's wounds. And so we have lots of healing programs, bereavement ministry, divorce ministry, mental health ministry, brand new mental health ministry to help people with this. We've got good people working on these things. Fourth strategic anchor is we want to help people grow in faith. Small groups, adult faith formation, children's faith formation. And then the 5th strategic anchor is we want to help people reach out and love other people, meaning serve in ministries and help the poor beyond our borders. In the interest of time, I'll come back to we'll talk about the process some other time. Okay, so our priorities for this year, we identified 3 of them. One is what we're calling next gen worship, or ready for the next generation. We want to make our worship on Sundays accessible, relevant, and exciting for families to bring their kids to, and even more than we already have. And so we're looking for ways to do that. Children's choir, we're going to be, Pamela is going to be rebooting children's choir this fall. We're doing it in a little different way, but I think it's going to be great, and we're going to try out something new, so that's one way. I've been told that maybe my homily should be a tad shorter. Okay, we'll look at that. But we want to just think that way. It's like, okay, how can we make the mass more attractive to the next generation? We want to get personal. That's our second priority. We've been apart from each other for 1.5 years. We want to get personal. That's what we're doing tonight. In-person events, and trying to get people back connected with one another. And then we want to grow givers and leaders. I've already talked about that. Our goals, this is the last thing I'm going to cover, and so I'm only 8 minutes late. Our SMART goals. So we identified 4 goals that we want to achieve this year. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And so our first one is we want to launch the Parish Connections program in the fall. We want to get a greeter program in place. We want to start our donut ministry in the fall, right out of the bat in September. And Nora and Julie Dolan are going to help us with that. And also Adrian Fertini and Jim O'Connor. You're going to help us with that. Thank you. And anybody else who wants to help. We want to grow total giving by 6% in the next 12 months. We want to grow by through our stewardship program. That's where Lisa is really going to help us sort of achieve that spiritual stewardship, spirituality. You might remember when I was here before, we started that. And then we kept trying, but it kind of got off a little. So we're going to just reboot that, and we're going to give a lot of energy to that. Because it's not about the money, it's about what it does to our hearts. Third goal is we want to select and train volunteer leaders. We want to have everybody trained and in place by December 1st. That's our goal. And lastly, big one, and this was what the restricted gifts were for that you saw, is to design and implement a Sunday mornings children faith enrichment program by fall 2022. We're looking at doing something in the gym on Sunday mornings for all faith levels, and Lisa Vito is going to be leading that charge along with Carol Garywall and Carolyn Bland, and it's going to be big, and we're just going to keep working on it. So we got a year, a little more than a year to get that going. And all we need to do to accomplish all of this is have you. So with that, let's do some questions and answers. I'm only 10 minutes late.
Okay, so this is as at least as important as everything Father just showed you, because we now need to know this was a year in reflection of all that took place. But each of you had the same year, right? We were all in lockdown. We all had the opportunity to worship differently and together, but ultimately it was changing in a way that we hadn't planned, we didn't expect, and it was difficult, to say the very least. So what we want to do is hear your questions and your thoughts and your ideas tonight. As I said when we started, we won't have the answers to everything, and we won't be able to go in deep discussion about each one of these ideas this evening, or we'd be staying very, very late. So I will be the scribe and write down your ideas, but Father is certainly happy to answer any and all of your questions. If you need us to go back to a slide because you want to ask about a specific piece of the budget, or you want to understand differently the leadership team, whatever it is, now is the time for you to ask these questions, and we will continue this dialogue. And I hope what this evening does is to help you know that he is always available, and you may call him, you may email him, you may text him, you may stand outside the rectory and call up to his window if that's you're walking your dog or something like people have done. Anyway, so please let us know. We don't have a traveling mic, but I think we can all hear each other in this space. So is there anybody who would like to kick off with a question? Ralph, why you did such a, oh, nice. All right, wonderful.
Right, so during Mass and online, so the rules change when you're online. If you're in church, there's no chatting. No chatting. If you are, oh, better get on camera. If you are in the Mass, if you're at home, then we are encouraging chatting at certain times. And people sort of self-regulate on this. For example, Lisa is in charge of our chatless ministry, and she can tell you that during the Eucharistic prayer, people are not chatting. They're focused on the Eucharist. During the homily, they're chatting. And maybe because it's dull, Larry, or it might be because they're actually talking about they love the homily, or they like this point, or they didn't like this point, or this one was a challenging thing. And they also chat in the beginning of Mass when they're saying hi to each other. It's so glad to be online with you. And then during the prayers of the faithful, they'll say, peace be with you. And so the idea is that people who have been isolated at home, and this includes homebound people, this includes people who can't get out of their home. That's why we're not going to stop live streaming, because there will still be people who need to access this. It makes them feel connected, makes them feel part of our community. Mike, did you want to say something? Oh. Right. Yeah, or prayer requests and things like that. Okay.
That's a good idea.
So I
there
can
that
get
for us-
clearer.
Yes, and we can put it actually into the weekly newsletter of block notes so that it's clear to everybody. It's a good suggestion. I've written it down. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. We got that. Reinventing the Mass so that it is. May I, if you don't mind, Larry, I'm sorry. Jim, are these your kids? Okay, great. And I have my 23-year-old here. So, do you go to Mass? Putting you on the spot now. Uh-huh. And does it feel, so does it, and you don't have to say how often doesn't matter, but I think it's important that because we don't often have a lot of interaction as a community with you, right? Other than our small team group and parents, young adult group, but to Larry's assertion that, you know, this is ossified, ancient, boring, and we're dragging you here. How does this experience feel to you?
I agree. I think the message series and also I'm not sure kind of what the thing, but the images and how it's speaking is just very interactive and it's kind of good. I mean, that's what brought me back to one of the church is the message series, talking about it, stats at the end of that, and then also, again, like the visual stuff. It just brings it all together. And personally, I love the contemporary music. That's what definitely gets me from 9 a.m. on Sundays. But I think all of those together make it a lot more inviting to people. I definitely
Okay. So, Larry, this isn't a statistically projectable sample, but I think that it's important for us to know what you all think, teenagers, young adults, and what we are doing. Because, Larry, I mean, your comment is important, and you want to stay on this because ultimately that's why Father presented many of the things that he did. It isn't an effort to reach, and the young church are a lot of our youth, needless to say. So, anyway.
One of the things that these guys were doing is really real. You know, they took all the things out and they were there for fun. They were cutting out the railroad cars, calling the Bible and stuff, and that was a lesson. But not the stuff. I mean, I have to have people do it. Sure, that was very new like that. You know, so that, I mean, that kind of addresses what you were saying on, you know, as you go, you can start out the board, you know, not to say that it was
Right, thank you.
Which is why the initiative of the children's program beginning is so important, that we start them so young. And of course, the school is a vital part of this entire community, as one St. Hilary, led by Marie and teachers.
It only makes sense to bring the kids. the young kids out, and that's part of the Sunday morning children's program that we're looking at developing, is bringing the kids out, because it's only fair to them to have a liturgy of the word, to have the gospel, and a little message for them that makes sense to them. It's extremely difficult to preach to a broad range of ages and interests, and so we just try to hit the mark, and sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. You're moderator.
Yes, Angela.
I think it goes back to Father Timothy, when the 9 o'clock mass, the family things there, and it used to be all the kids up on the altar. Which I thought was really pretty cool.
I would love to do that. I will go on record saying I have no problem bringing up on the front of the altar. I love that.
I don't know if everybody heard what Angela was saying during Father Tarantino's time. The 9 o'clock mass was the family and children's mass, and you bring all the children up on the altar so that they were really front and center and not just sitting there told to be quiet or given a piece of technology so they weren't talking during mass or otherwise distracted. Yes.
One was about
That's very important. I mean, I hear that often as a priest, that various segments of our population feel left out. Single people, older people sometimes, certainly people at home, older people at home, divorced people often feel not accepted. And so that's part of this Parish Connections program, a welcoming ministry, just doing our best to try to make sure everyone feels welcome in a welcoming environment. He's just got a phone call, he's not protesting. So
Was the reading and the message series or the readings and the homily?
which is the homily? Yeah, no, all the time. So I can speak a little bit to that. So there's I guess there's a difference between, what we have to discern is the difference between a Bible study and a Sunday homily, and what a Sunday homily means. The bishops, U.S. bishops, wrote a document called Fulfilled in Your Hearing. I think it was back in the 90s or so, where they tried to get away from this idea that the homily on a Sunday was a sermon, about like dogma or like a Bible study of the Bible, because that's more appropriate for like your group, is to dig into that. Like, why did Paul say this? What did he mean? What context was he saying it in? Now, obviously, the readings should absolutely be addressed during the homily, and I can assure you, they always are. They always are. It may not be in the traditional, okay, in the gospel reading today, Jesus says blank, and so this means for us blank. But the message series will always interact with the readings, and always with the gospel reading. And what I find for myself, as I'm developing these message series with a team actually who helps me do this, is that I find deep enrichment because how long have you been a Christian? Angela? 52 years. 53 years. What's 53 divided by 3? What's 53 divided by 3? Can anybody do math real quick? 17. That means, Angelo, you have heard, assuming you go to church every Sunday, which I know you do, that means you have heard every Sunday gospel reading 17 times in your career as a Catholic. And what we have this temptation, what happens is we tend to just kind of think of the same thing every time. Okay, this reading comes up, this is what this means. Whereas I find when I'm developing the message series with my team, is that interacting between this theme that we're looking at and the gospel, it actually creates these new creative inspirations that you may not have thought of before. And so sometimes we cover the historical context of the gospel, sometimes we cover theological underpinnings of the gospel. But it may be a little different than the traditional homily in that way. But I will do some thinking about that and see how we can strengthen it.
Yeah. I was just saying something very soon.
1 second, I'm so sorry, go ahead, Bill, I apologize.
Right. So we had, let me go back to that slide. There we go. So out of this total income of $795,000, we got PPP loans of $70,000. $70,000. So the school got a lot more, but so we had $70,000. But we also had expenses related to COVID that we won't have next year. And also, although we miss Adrian very much, his retirement will free up some money. So that's what we're hoping to offset that. $70,000. I hope that makes sense.
And
This university was very sad. I'm a University of Notre Dame graduate. Every day, I get the gospel of the day, and attached to that is a reflection about what that gospel means to that person is reading that day. And I find it very, very helpful. And I would be very happy to email that to anybody that
Yeah, I get that too every day, and I'm tempted to steal it for my daily homilies. Notre Dame, I love it. Notre Dame, so you can sign up for those. Those are great, and they're written by ordinary people in the Notre Dame community.
I got another one too. It's
Moderator.
It has the same verse, right? So maybe a different reflection.
Oh, we could put Notre Dame on the app, maybe. Great, thank you, Kristen. Okay, we feel like we got hands going here, moderator.
okay, scribe. Yes, sir.
Right, we don't have to pay the PPP loan back.
Yeah, it just means we don't have it going forward. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Hey, Lee.
I'm Lee Esky. My wife and I were Christians here many years ago. question and thought and questions really around the live stream. I'm wondering if that gift of outreach is also not possibly a potential problem in the future. Because I understand that Catholics just aren't coming back to Mass, not just here, but throughout America. Mass attendance is dropping, and people don't feel the need to come back to church. And so I love the outreach and reaching new people. And I'm kind of wondering what the end game is to get people to come back, because it's actually so beautifully done and so polished. In a certain sense, don't hear this wrong, it's almost too satisfying. Because the thing that makes us Catholic at the end of the day is the Eucharist.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm worried that people, I know people who just won't come back. And as far as reaching people in other countries, one way it's wonderful. And another way, if I was in front of that, I'd say, go to your Mass, go to your parish. Don't tune in to us. Go to your parish where you can sit in the presence of Jesus and receive the Eucharist. And as much as I love it, I have mixed feelings. So that's my thought. And my question is kind of, is there an end game to, because I think perpetual live streaming ultimately is not going to serve returning people to in person. So I'm wondering if you might be open to having a few Masses each weekend live stream and a couple not.
Yeah.
Because I would love people to feel the dissatisfaction of not being in person, and they need to come. Right? Otherwise, they're not too. And I have many Protestant friends, but one of the things that sets us apart is you don't go to Mass and you don't receive the Eucharist, you're missing something that's critical in your life. That's with all the love for the live streaming.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. It's a question that's on our mind too. We've been asking that question. Should we do all the Masses? Should we do some? Should we do none? But I think the good news is that it's self-regulating, because actually we're seeing our online numbers go down, which means, it can only mean, I think, that they're coming back. The people who were watching it are coming back. People who might stay online are, people who are confined to their homes, people who can't get out of their homes, people who are overseas, people away from their families. We have several people, like we have, I know Ingrid Simpkins is on our Zoom tonight. I hope you can hear me, Ingrid. And your daughter, Caroline, right? Caroline tunes in every week from Virginia. Now, I don't know if she goes to Mass there. I hope you do, Caroline. but for her, it's a special connection to be with her mom. Her mom's in the pews, and she gets to watch. And I think the other audience are unaffiliated people who that might be their first toe in the water. But what we're going to start doing is really encouraging people. And actually, that's what Archbishop Corleone's homily series that he wants us to start doing is it's going to be on the Eucharist. And really kind of, this is why you should come back. Yes, live stream's great. You can get a lot from it, but you can't get the Eucharist. And that's what we really need as Catholics. So I'm going to show you something tonight. Now, if I offend anybody, I'm going to do the donkey one. Do you think I should? So we developed a little advertising thing. It's supposed to be funny. If I offend anybody, I'm really, really sorry. Let me know afterwards if you think I would get in a huge amount of trouble doing this. But here's, okay, enough said. Let me know after. We'll take that offline. But the upshot is we are really going to be pushing getting people back.
I told Father the problem is we don't have a stable when you bring your donkey. Yes.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Fernando Cruz, and I have been here for about 20 years. And I'm going to wear the Father.
Thank you.
First, God,
Yes.
I have 3 items to share with all of you. Number one, a big thank you for creating these opportunities. Thank you for inviting us and respecting our ideas and requesting them so that we can.
Thank you for being here.
I do. It is fascinating to me to see the impetus, the motivation that you have absolutely fantastic. Although I realize and the truth has to be taught which probably I'm not aware of, because people would not know. So it is up to you and to you to decide whether it's one month or two or three. That's what it is. The last item is this. You set certain time during Mass. Think of the people that are listening at home. Think of the people from North Carolina. Do you have your heart number story? Can you share with us how many people have really been thinking or watching?
Yes, yes, I can share that with you. So at the height of COVID, like I said, it's decreased significantly over the last couple of months as things have opened up and people have gone back to their regular churches. But at the height of COVID, we were getting about 400 or 500 people every Sunday, in addition to the 100 or 200 that would come here. And yeah, now actually I misstated that because it's not 400 or 500 people; it's 400 or 500 devices. So you could be having 2 or 3 people or 4 people watching the same device if they're watching it on TV or something like that. So we just don't know actually, but we do know the number of devices that have tuned in.
So a follow-on question to that, with regards to the end game and streaming. One thing I'd like to say is I really believe for the younger generation, they tend to check something out online first and then come. So that's their dipping the toe in. But are you tracking in any way the donations that come in, say from North Carolina or whatever, because there is we're reaching the unchurched,
Yes.
but are we reaching the unchurched, and are any of those new people, because of the online presence, giving to fund the online presence, or is the giving that is being given online existing?
Thank you, Judith. That is such an intelligent question because we have been wrestling with that, our leadership team, and in particular Lisa, who's in charge of implementing this new church database system called Tidely. So we're trying to figure that out. Actually, Phil Mills, who is on our pastoral council now, gave us a great idea, which we've now had the time to implement. But here's the problem. The problem is many of you give online, right? You give online. But you come to church. People who are online also give online. So it's all one big pot. What we have to do is somehow go back and figure out who was attending through the registration sheets that you all used to, and thank God you don't have to do that anymore, and then back it out. It would be very time intensive. But Phil gave us a great idea that there apparently is some way you can do some computer thingy where it's a slightly different link so that people who are doing this on the computer, so we're going to investigate that. But it may take some time. But it's such a smart question. So the answer is I don't know.
And then the other comment I want to make, just because I'm new to coming here with the group, is I came to St. Hilary's because my church was doing online, and I missed being in person church. And so that's how I found St. Hilary's, because you were doing in-person church. So it works both ways. That people are looking for in-person church. Not the other.
Very true. Very true.
So, thank you for doing outdoors. And back outdoors.
Any other questions? Yes.
Oh.
Personally, all these people are human beings, and I don't think not one of God's creatures is not exempt from possibly being a little evil. But I think that's something you have to face, and nobody seems to want to talk about it. And it's a big evil.
Yeah.
only one who's like, well, think about it. A lot of the adults in the church would say that.
Thank you, Angela. So,
Personally, that's not my faith. My faith is useless and sacrifice on the fifth grade and resurrection of the dead. I mean, that's the basis of my faith. The rest of it is institutional. It's bad PR.
it's very bad PR, and I can tell you from personal experience that many people are staying away from the church because of the clergy scandals and other scandals in the church. I have not talked about it since I've come here because I haven't had an opportunity, or, you know, when I was, right before I left St. Brendan, you remember, was it August of 2020 when the grand jury scandal broke in Philadelphia? It's hundreds and hundreds of cases. I went out to the community of St. Brendan and I addressed it head on in a homily and in letters to the parishioners, and people were very thankful. And I find that whenever we talk about it openly, that people are very thankful. And so I thank you for that comment, because we do need to talk about it. The only hope that I have in this is that my understanding is that almost all of these incidences were long ago. Now, you say it's in the paper once a week. I'm not seeing that, but maybe you see it. But are they reporting on old incidences that have just been discovered? Because the church has really cleaned up its act a lot since all this happened. The careful screening of seminarians, immediate removal of priests if there's even an allegation. The priests are scared to death because all somebody's got to, I shouldn't tell you this, but all somebody's got to do is make an allegation, a false allegation, and you're gone. So, yes. Right, because there's no statute of limitations, so they have to remove that. They are. I mean, the attorneys are making money, but of course, what happened to these children is horrific, and the fact that the church in many instances covered it up is almost as horrific as that. But I guess the other thing that I keep telling myself, not only, number one, the church has cleaned up its act, but number two, it's not my faith, right? The church is a fallible institution. Its doctrines are infallible, but the church is fallible. And its leaders have failed, but all I know to do is to lead this community in the best, most honest, transparent way that I can. And that's all we can do. We have no other control over all of the stuff that's happening, I don't think. We just have to be the most faithful and holy that we can be and set a good example for everybody. It's an uphill battle, though, you're right, because a lot of people are staying away because of that.
Thank you for your
I think Dina.
Dina.
It's nice to see that you guys have something in place to evolve this. What I feel is another area that we next fall is Eucharistic ministers and lectures.
Yes.
Coming up, and if we go with that, or
Yes. So what?
and to kind of let people know or who's officially instead of the email put out and we're just in need of.
Right.
So it's brought back.
Absolutely. So if you couldn't hear that, the question is about our scheduling system for volunteers in the church. What we did over COVID is because so many people were telling Diana, I'm not willing to come. I'm understandably scared right now. I mean, when things were spiking out of control. And so what we did is just week by week, trying to fill the positions as best we could. Now that we're coming out of it, we are shooting for our first regular schedule to be what, October 1st? October, November, December will be the first regular schedule where we'll do it the old way, and we'll get. Now, we just sent out an email today. We used a different way of sending out an email that should maybe make it more accessible and easy for everybody to sign up. But that is definitely coming back.
We have time for one more question. Yes, Mark. I'd love to address that because if we can explore it and we should, because I certainly know what you're talking about regarding people who prefer not to have technology or don't have it available to them. The bulletin, as we produced it before, was reasonably expensive for us. It was not self-sustaining. It had been at one time when advertising was robust, but the way in which we went about it in our last iteration was not. And ultimately, we also ended up recycling hundreds and hundreds of copies. So not thinking that the money was best spent. But there are other ways to produce it in a timely way that can be directed to people who would actually elect to be able to have that sent to them in paper form. And we can do that. And the kind of custom publishing is not hard. So thank you for that, because that's part of what we're exploring. Okay. You know, I went back to the last question and all right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everybody online for being a part of it because of vacations in Rome and Ireland, and I don't know about anybody else, but I'm jealous. Angela.
How often are we going to get updates? Will we meet like this again?
Well, I was telling Father that we should really do this weekly.
How often would you like them?
Quarterly?
Quarterly would be very good.
Okay. Well, okay.
We'll talk about it. It's kind of nerve-wracking, to be honest with you, Angela.
Let's see how well it is. Exactly. But thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming. God bless you. Thank you all at home. And I know that some of the audio was not great for you, but we'll have this recorded and hopefully it'll be good. So good night and see you next time.